Okay, so what art supplies do we need for this project? First thing we need is our watercolor paper. This is the thicker paper that I gave you in your packet. So it's not, if you feel the size paper that I gave you, there's two different kinds. There's drawing paper, which is thinner, and then there's this stiffer watercolor paper. You can kind of hear what it sounds like when you wave it around. You can use watercolor paper for acrylic painting as well. You're also going to need to purchase your acrylic paints. So this is something I've been talking about for about a week now, preparing you, reminding you that you need to have your acrylic paints by Tuesday. So we need red, yellow, blue, black, and white. This is also written in Schoology, and it's also on your art supply list. Those are the three primary colors, and black and white. So we're going to be working only with the primary colors, and I'm going to teach you how to mix all your secondary and tertiary colors and all your tints and shades. So you don't need to buy like green or purple or pink or anything like that. You just buy your three primaries and black and white. You don't need to buy a lot of paint, just small tubes is fine. Please make sure that it is acrylic paint and not tempera. Tempera paint is really cheap paint and it does not mix well. It's bad quality. So buy acrylic paint in little tubes. Don't spend a whole lot of money on it.
Is this like enough paint or?
So I'm in demo mode right now, guys, so I can't really go back and look at your screens right now. So I can answer your questions after.
Okay.
So my pop icon is a musician. You might know who he is, you might not. He's older. His name is Beck. He's actually who I named my son after. My son's name is Beck, or I call him Beckett, but when he gets older, I'll probably call him Beck. And he's very famous. And I love this image because it's black and white, which is actually good. You might want to convert your color photos into a black and white image. I can show you how to do that in Preview pretty easily, so that you can really see the value shift in his face. Like I can draw marks on his face that highlight where the highlights are and the shadows in the dark areas. So first thing I'm going to do is just tape my watercolor paper down. I like to tape it down so it doesn't move around on me when I'm working. And then I'm gonna, if you have a printer at home, it's always a good idea to print out your paper so you can have it next to you when you're working. And sometimes I prefer not to be staring at the computer screen all the time. So I like to have, turn the computer off and like have physical stuff to work with. The next thing I'm going to do, you're going to be using your lowest lead pencils. So I gave you guys two pencils. One of them is, they're all kind of different, but one of them is going to be a hard lead that's lighter. So this is an HB pencil, and you guys won't even be able to see it because this webcam doesn't even pick it up. And then I gave you a darker lead pencil, which will probably have a B at the end of it. So it'll be a number and a B. And you can see that's darker, softer and darker. So I want you guys to draw your drawing with the light pencil, the HB. I'm gonna do mine with the 6B for now because I need you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, right? Because of the webcam. So, but you guys use your light one. And then you're gonna need an eraser for this and a sharpener. These are things that you probably have at home already. Now this image is smaller than my paper. So how do we deal with that? As an artist, how do we scale up? That's what we're talking about, scale. How do we scale up? Apologies here, just having issues. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide, using a ruler or a book or something, I'm going to draw lines to the side of his face because my paper is going to be portrait view, which is longer than it is wide. So I kind of want to get a sense of where that is on my paper. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle around Beck's face so that I know this is my picture plane. This is my picture plane. This is my picture plane here. And then I'm going to divide it into 4 sections. So I could use a ruler, I could just kind of eyeball it, but this is 4 inches wide. So I'm going to put a mark at 2, and I'm going to draw a line down the middle of his face, and then 5.5, so 2 3/4 would be halfway. So I'm just going to divide it into 4 quadrants so that I can really scale up easily. So then you're going to go to your paper and you're going to divide your paper. You can make a couple marks because your paper is bigger. And very lightly, I'm going to do it dark so you guys can see on the camera, but for you, you're going to do it light because you don't want these to show up later. You want to erase. Okay, and then this is 12, so we go So we go 6, and then we get our quadrants. 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even number them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what do we do after this? After this, we're going to be drawing this face on here. So we already learned proportions of the face, right? And we're trying to make it look like, it's even more important that it looks like this person now, right? Because we're drawing a pop icon. So I'm going to actually fold this so you guys can see my drawing and him at the same time. And it helps me visualize. So his chin is about 3/4 of the way down, so I'm going to just make these little registration marks here. This kind of goes in about 1/3 of the way in, 1/3 of the way in, the side of his face, and then the top of his hair is up here. Kind of goes all the way to the edge. I'm looking at negative space, like this corner. That corner can help me figure out where his hair goes to. And then his chin is about right here. And then his neck is about halfway into this box. So all of these things kind of help me place his face and scale up. And that kind of comes down here. You guys are drawing lighter. I'm drawing dark so you can see on the camera. Just placing marks. I might have to move them later, right? That's what drawing is all about. So now I have this egg shape. Remember our egg shape? We learned how to do this proportions of the face. So now we have this egg shape. I'm going to divide the egg shape in half. I'm also going to look at what is going on in this crisscross here. What is there? Well, that's his nose. His nose is sitting right in the crisscross. So I'm going to put a circle there. His nostrils are right here. I'm going to kind of draw that in there. And then his eyes, the pupil of his eye, I don't know, is about 1/3 of the way up in this quadrant. I'm using these quadrants to help me place things in the right spot. So placement is really important right now. So the bridge of his nose kind of comes up like this. And then I'm just going to put sort of a general eyeball right here and right here. Now I have kind of where his eyes go. And then I'm going to use this line here to kind of figure out where the middle of his mouth is. So right about in the middle of that. And then he's got these, the top lip goes out to about the edge of his nose. So you guys can kind of see that I'm really lining things up and I'm comparing, like where does that end compared to the nose? This will really help me draw things correctly in proportion. I'm outlining the bottom lip. And these are pretty general still. We're not really making it look like him quite yet. We're just putting things where they go. Okay. Now reminding you too that there's 5 eyes across the front of the face, proportion wise. There's an eye in between, There's the eyes, and then there's an eye width. So if I really wanted to measure it out, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe I have to move that one in a bit. It's 5 eye widths across. So I need to move that pupil in a little bit. And that helped. That actually helped me because I had that eye this way a little bit too much. Okay, and then his eyebrow shape. We're doing general shapes right now. Eyebrow shape. And then where do his bangs come in? I'm gonna do his hair later. And we're just doing the outline. We're not doing any shading with the pencils. We're gonna be painting over this. We're just doing an outline of the contours, like the outline of his features in his face. His earlobes kind of go below this middle line. And then his shoulders kind of come out right here. He has a collared shirt on that goes down this way. And then he has a jacket over that collared shirt. Okay, so I have a general outline. Now I have to really think about and look at, well, does that really look like him? Is that Beck yet? Well, I don't think so. I think I need to work on the shape of his face. It's not so round. So I'll go in and mess with that a little bit, and I'll go back and forth with my eraser and my pencil to get it right. And it's like, is the length correct? Is this distance good? Is this distance good? Is this? So I'm going to ask myself all these questions as I'm moving through here. So now I'm looking at the side of his face and how much space there is between his eye and this side of his face. I think it needs to go in a bit. And then his face kind of cuts in a little sharper here. He has a sharper jawline. And then he kind of cuts in right here and has a little bit more of a pointy chin. And then it cuts out at an angle and it comes in more. Okay, so now all of a sudden his face looks a little bit more angular and a little bit more like Beck. And you guys aren't going to have this much lead on your page because I'm just drawing again so you can see it on the webcam. Okay, so I'm not going to go further with this demo today because I want to give you time to work. Now, if you're working on something that's not a face, you're going to do it the same way that I did the face. Simplify and just say, I am drawing this, and I'm scaling it up to put it on my paper. If it's a Coke can, that's fine. If it's a face, that's fine. I'm just scaling it up. And I'm trying my best to fill up my page. So most important things right now is that you get the right paper. You're using your watercolor paper. If you try to paint on your floppy paper, it's going to get all wrinkly and it's not going to work. So you have to use your watercolor paper. Yeah, so that's as far as I want you to go today. If anyone needs me to help them divide up their digital image and they don't have a printer, I can help you do that too.